his petition to do it,
Cool.
but it's not official.
I got a 6 pound
Do you
right
want to come up, Ben?
Sure.
Get Sutton?
Laurie. Or Lorraine. Linda.
Oh, okay.
When they're ready.
I was telling Lorena was gonna put a weir board in, and go for the lake.
He's gonna put his-
To all interested inhabitants of the town of Sutton, in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 11, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the Sutton Town Hall on April 4th, 2019, at 7 p.m. on the petition of Mikhail Carrier. The petitioner requests a special permit pursuant to Section 3, 4, Table 1, Section G3 of the town zoning bylaws to permit the use as a landscaping contractor in the Business Highway B2 zoning district. The property that is the subject of this petition is located at 207 Worcester Providence Turnpike, as shown on Assessor's Map number 18, parcel number 62. The property is located in the Business Highway B2 zoning district. A copy of the petition may be inspected during normal office hours in the town clerk's office located in the town hall. Any person interested or wishing to be heard in the special permit petition should appear at the time and place designated. Daniel Petrelli, Board of Appeals Clerk. Welcome, gentlemen. If you could state your name for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Damian Berthume. I represent Mr. Carrier.
I'm Michael Carrier.
All right. If you could tell us a little bit about your request this evening.
Certainly. So the reason that we're here is to seek a special permit to operate a landscaping business at this site. This is not a site where we're looking to do any additional construction. We're not looking to change the buildings, to change the impervious surfaces. We're looking to use it as is. My understanding is that the site was previously used by a paving contractor, so it has a history of being used as a contractor yard, if you will. My client simply seeks to operate a landscaping business out of the site. As is identified in our application, we're not anticipating any retail component here, so the number of trips in and out of the site every day should be fairly minimal. Mr. Carrier anticipates 3 to 4 office staff who would be working out of the house. The house is identified on the plan that you have before you as existing one-story office, number 207. And so we anticipate that there'll be 3 to 4 employees in there on a daily basis. And then there would be basically service vans that would be coming in and out of the property in the morning and in the afternoon. Not a great deal of trips in and out of the property each day, but we're probably talking about 6 to 10 service vans that leave in the morning and come back later in the day. And those are vans that we're talking about at this point, not trucks with trailers and landscaping equipment. As is identified, I think, in our application, Mr. Carrier has a fertilizer component to his business, and largely would be operating the fertilizer portion of his business from this site. So there would be no outside storage of materials. We believe that everything could be stored within the garage itself. And as a result of that, we don't believe that this use would have a significant negative impact on the surrounding area. For example, directly next to this site is another landscaping business that I think does have a retail component and does offer sales to homeowners and other contractors. I think that this use would likely be less sort of intensive than that. It's a pretty innocuous use that we think can be accomplished primarily within the structures that are already there. But it does require a special permit to operate a landscaping business, and so that's why we're here. I think that based upon the brief presentation that I've made, the board could make the findings associated with the special permit that are identified in your bylaw, because there really, I don't think will be any significant impact on pedestrian or vehicular traffic. As I mentioned, it's a very small number of trips per day. We don't really anticipate any pedestrian traffic to this site. The site is serviced by a private septic system. There is a passing Title V report that I do have a copy of that I could share, not a printed copy, but I have an electronic copy that I could share with the board. And that Title V inspection identifies that the septic system is suitable for a small establishment such as this one. It's serviced by town sewer, and as a result of all these factors, I think that it is appropriate to locate this business in this area. I should note, since you're looking at the plan, that the plan very clearly delineates an encroachment that you'll see. It would be in the, where's the north arrow on this? I don't think there's one. It would be towards the bottom of the site, as it shows on the plan, in that area where it's labeled material bin. There is a paved surface that very clearly is over the line. Mr. Carrier did have an opportunity to speak with his neighbor, who I know is here tonight and would like to speak with the board as well. And we anticipate that it's going to be necessary to come to some agreement with Mr. Carrier's hopefully future neighbor in advance of closing our transaction.
Okay, and you said that you won't have any outside storage of materials, you think?
No.
Fertilizer or anything like that?
No.
Everything's gonna be inside?
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the improvements the red markings on the plan? That sounds like-
Sure. So those improvements, as you call them, are recommendations from the engineer. Because we are seeking to change the use here, despite the fact that we're not looking to do any new construction, as you're probably aware, your bylaw requires that we go through a site plan approval process as well. And so this plan, we intend to use for that purpose also. Mr. Hill, who is Mr. Carrier's engineer, took a look at the parking. There's some spaces that are already identified, but the lines could be repainted, so we intend on doing that. And then we also intend to delineate additional parking spaces in the back. That's a fairly unintrusive improvement, I think. Guardrails are recommended by Mr. Hill as well. And looking at the photograph view from the southwest down at the bottom, I guess we can understand why he would recommend those guardrails. There is a pretty significant elevation change between the end of that parking lot on the property that Mr. Carrier seeks to purchase and sort of that riprap slope that goes down. So a guardrail there might make some sense just to prevent any sort of an accident, a car from going down that hill. Same thing in terms of the guardrail going down the road, that if a car were to slip there, it could go over that other hill and potentially end up in Route 146 going in the wrong direction. So those are probably a good safety addition for the site and should not, I think, impact the overall aesthetic view of the site as well. I think that the safety measures would probably outweigh any aesthetic impact.
All right. Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or against this petition? Sir, just state your name for the record.
Ron Lukasevich, I'm the butter to the right, 211 Worcester Providence, 146 Fitness. So I met with Mike the other day, and we talked about some concerns I had. One of my concerns is how everyone enters his property off 146, which I have no idea why it was configured like this, but basically the way it's designed, the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, and to enter that property, you're slashing across how I get out of my property. So I got a call into the state, and well, I don't have a call, but I'm exploring to talk to the state to see how we can, I don't know how we can configure it, maybe a Cape Cod berm where he comes into the property kind of bypasses where my traffic is. Right now it's just, and if you guys are on the highway and you're getting off any exit on any highway and it's at an angle like that, it's just naturally that you just don't slow down. You just, if you're going 55, you're not going to slow down to 20 and then ease up the hill. So that was one of my concerns. I think we all can come together and figure out a way that it's not a hazard for safety. I'm open to all ideas. I'm pro-business. I'm not here in any way to say I don't want him there. I would love him to be there, and I hope he has killer sales and stays there for rest of his life and his kid's life. So I'm here pro-business. There is an encroachment on the top right property. One of my questions is was there a 21E done on the property? Because the last owner, P&M Asphalt, basically what I observed is there's a lot of asphalt dumpings on my property. There is a couple of rubber bulldozer tracks buried inside the hill that I noticed today.
Mhm.
And there's about 15 concrete blocks, 2 by 3, that are all on my property. So basically, it was kind of a dumping ground. So my concern, and I want to have on the record, that I want to make sure that there's no hazardous materials there, because obviously it's my property, and for years of him dumping there, I don't know what's there, because I'm concerned about that. And I would like to have it all cleaned up and all that off the property before, he goes in there and conducts business. Other than that, I'm pro-business. I hope he does well. But there was some concerns with the last owner that I really couldn't address because there were some issues there. I don't want to go in it any further. So I kind of mind my own business. But I just kind of found this out in the last couple of weeks. And that's what I have to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, no more questions from the board?
I wouldn't mind seeing the Title V, since we've got a rule on sewage.
Okay.
Did you say
Do
you have the Title V available?
I haven't, you can look at it on my screen if you want here for a moment. And if you would like, I can certainly email a copy of it to your secretary as well.
Just as one of our criteria is about it.
Sure. So you can,
Actually, as it relates to, did you do, in
Scroll through
connection with your due diligence, was there any type of a review of the site to take a look at whether or not buried materials existed, or was there any
Weak
kind of a
connection
phase
here.
one done or anything to identify potential issues?
I know the bank was doing the E21 report. The environmental report also, of course, it's 146, so there's reports all the way up and down 146 because every action's recorded or whatever. So they were going to dive into it deeper. As far as I know, I mean, he has a permeable surface throughout. It's all paved up there. But there, like Ron said, there is asphalt, chunks, grindings, or whatever he dug up. I don't know what's under that. That's all I can see on the surface. So.
As it relates to this encroachment, what are your thoughts on what needs to be done there to make that right?
I mean, obviously, the seller really didn't
You want me
know.
to take that one?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's fine.
I think there's a couple of different ways to solve that. And I think that Mr. Carrier and Mr. Lukasevich, I'm pronouncing your name correctly, right? Okay. They did have a discussion about that. One way to solve it would be with an easement. Another way would be for Mr. Carrier to acquire some additional land there. And the third way would be to remove the encroachment. And the hope is that these two gentlemen can strike an agreement to leave it there. But if they're unable to, then that surface could always be removed and restored. Does that answer the question?
I'm just trying to, and it's impossible to forecast the future, right? But I'm just trying to gauge whether or not this represents a bypass between the potential purchaser and an existing neighbor as it relates to this particular issue.
I'm not sure what you mean by a bypass.
If there's a resolution that can be easily reached, or if it's something that's going to be ongoing, right? I mean.
Well, I think from our perspective, it's something that needs to be solved before Mr. Carrier purchases the property.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think that, and Mr. Lukasevich was great about reaching out to, he found out, he got my contact information from the engineer when the engineer was out there preparing the plan, and was very good about getting in touch with me and letting me know that he would like a solution as well. But I agree with you. A solution in the near term is certainly better than something that languishes forever. So this is a situation that we want resolved prior to acquiring it.
Okay, so as an investor, your objective at this point is to reach a mutually agreeable resolution on that issue prior to you purchasing the property?
Of course, yep.
Okay.
If I may, the other issue that Mr. Lukasevich raised in terms of the access to the property from 146, we're not opposed to exploring some alternative there as well. But I think there's another party that's going to be involved in that discussion, I think, because I believe that's within the right-of-way for 146. So we're probably talking about dealing with, likely Mass DOT if there were to be any change in that area. So we're open to exploring that situation as well. That's not one that I'm confident would necessarily be resolved prior to closing because of the fact that it's going to require some involvement of DOT, I think.
That was actually my question.
Okay.
Well, safety's one of our criteria, right? So
Yep.
I think that we have to at least
Yep.
take a look at the situation and see.
Yeah, I drove in there right before this meeting. I stopped by, and at this point, 146 is 3 lanes, and I felt like getting back out wasn't a problem, even though it was pretty heavy traffic. Just like that sort of right lane was, it's like the 2 travel lanes, and then like the people want to go to Market 32 in that right one.
I think compared to what was there too, I mean, previous owner had a lot of trailers backing out and heavy equipment, and,
Right.
you know, you're not gonna have that, so, you know, even some simple striping down at the end of your parking lot, maybe designating his entrance might even do the trick, you know, you never know, something as simple as that.
Yeah, and just in terms of the safety concerns, and in traffic in and out of that site, a bank, for example, is a use that is
Yeah.
permitted in that site, in that zone, that wouldn't even need to come get a special permit. The likely traffic in and out with a bank every day would be significantly greater. And, you know, there's other uses as well. A restaurant's allowed there, a hotel or a motel, personal service establishments, all of those could be in there without the permit. The traffic that we're going to be generating at this site, I think, is significantly less than what those would generate. So I think there's an argument to be made that this would be safer than a lot of the uses that could come before that wouldn't even need to come before the board, I guess.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
All right, anything else? Does anybody feel as though they need a site visit, or?
I would like to see the traffic situation.
Okay.
And there again, I'm not suggesting that, you know, it's a situation that exists, and I think we'd be negligent if we didn't at least understand the situation and whether or not it has a, you know, use doesn't, I agree that the use that you're proposing is comparable with the prior use, but the safety issue, I think, is something that we need to make sure it's an appropriate time to resolve.
How do you wanna handle a site visit? We usually do them on a Saturday morning, but you're not gonna get much for traffic on a Saturday morning.
I think we
So-
can see, I don't know that.
I didn't know if you wanted to try to see more of
the
one
accelerated
flow or something like that.
I think it is.
Having driven by there, I understand how
For the
ramp
Atlas.
is up the hill. I
What's
don't,
that?
There's
you know,
money for the Atlas
I don't know
Corp
if we
there,
can see
because they
it.
made that accelerating lane, you know,
Busy and
the
active.
third lane.
I just want to say it, yeah.
So do you wanna try to line something up for this Saturday morning?
Fine with me.
You guys don't have to be there, you're welcome to be there if you want, but we're just gonna poke in and take a look at the traffic, I guess.
Okay.
You guys-
I can't be there Saturday morning, but are you available?
I can make it, that's no problem.
What time is everybody?
Whatever time works for anybody, it's fine with me.
8 o'clock.
I was gonna say, somebody likes to
I
sleep
got
in.
kids.
8 o'clock. All right, so we're gonna set up a site visit this Saturday. What's the date, Lynn?
It
Six.
is
This Saturday the 6th at 8 a.m. Should only take a minute, so.
Oh, no,
It'll be quick.
that's fine, no worries.
All right, and we'll,
And then would we continue this meeting until the
Yes.
next session?
we're
We're
actually,
looking at the May 9th, is that the plan?
right, we're gonna go, our next meeting will be May 9th. We're gonna move it out a week. We have some conflicts, so we're gonna
Okay.
be May 9th.
7 PM? Work?
All right, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to continue this to May 9th at 7 PM.
Make a motion to continue this to May 9th.
Second? All those in favor? Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right, we'll see you
Thank you.
Saturday.
I should have asked this on the record, and I didn't think of it. Would you like me to email that Title V? Would you have a copy of it? Sure. I'll send that along. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Regarding our next hearing, we've received a letter, which I'll read, from Robert E. Clark, 63 School Street, Northbridge. This is to inform the board that I am withdrawing my application for special permit for the property located at 121 Worcester Providence Highway. Very truly yours, Robert Clark. So I would entertain a motion to accept the withdrawal of Robert Clark's application for a special permit at 121 Worcester Providence Turnpike without prejudice.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. That's it, folks.
Sounds good to me.
We have some meeting minutes in front of us also. From just February one?
Just the one. You weren't there, but you still have a form that you wrote on it.
Yep. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from February 13th, 2019, as provided to us by Lynn.
I'll make a motion to accept these minutes.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain from voting, as I would not.
Mm.
I was here, but I wasn't on the board. I want to note my
Here
perfect
down the hall.
attendance.
I'm going for the chart.
I watched the meeting on YouTube.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I haven't seen
I'll
it.
make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All those in favor? See you next month. See you guys Saturday.
Yeah, the YouTube stuff is pretty. it
Is it
works
cool?
out well, yeah.
Any comments on there?
On the YouTube?
Lynn,
Yeah,
do you
did
have
people
a-
comment on it or no?
Here it is.
Anybody
You
like
vote.
uploaded it?
Are we off?
I didn't know if you wanted to put a copy to yourself.
Oh, I can't sign it anyways, Lynn.
Yes, you can. They voted.
We're off? Okay.
Do you have any context on why you withdrew the kennel?
The story that he didn't want to tell, that you heard the story he didn't want to tell. That guy, the business guy, went over to the fire.
Sam, are we off?